What's up? Good people. Party people in the house. Party people in the place to be. Bum, bum, bum. Ba-na-na-na-na, na-na-na-na. Mm, mm, mm. Now, welcome back to the Sean P. Diddy Combs trial. We're on day 11. I know I didn't finish yesterday, so we're going to finish up from where we left off yesterday with the Capricorn Clark, then move into today's events. Mm-hmm. Well, when you see people not responding in the way that they should respond, you start seeing a lot of inaccuracies and what's on the table. Hit the like button coming through the door, please. Appreciate it. Yes, you get a lot of things adjourned when you move faster like that. Oh, 100%. Well, Diddy wanted a lot of things off of the docket, things that was supposed to be directed straight to the LAPD, who's supposed to go through this case. There was a lot of dockets and things that was pressed, like they put in a press to basically for a mistrial, and the government's not going to be the one to want to do that. Well, when we were going through the case and they was talking about, well, we leave off the kidnapping, right? We was talking about the kidnapping in the case and what was happening with her and wanting to go get work and all of these different details. So let's go back to where we left off. Hit that like button so they know that you're not a bot. So what they were doing was getting the defense went to get Capricorn Clark talking. So as you know, from the inner city press, we go straight off the transcripts of what happened in court. We don't go off the blah blah blah. We go about what was said in court. Now, she wrote, Cassie was never her friend. She wanted me gone. I realized. And so he said, "Did you think Cassie wanted you gone?" And she starts crying. "Sorry, this is complicated for me. I felt that I was Puff's protector." Then she said, "I felt like I was the only one gone. She was still there, and things were getting worse. I tried to keep professionalism as the goal. You thought you could be his protector? It was to move the ball towards the goal, to inspire." They say, "Well, did it hurt that he would have taken you back because Cassie wanted it?" And he said, "Yes. I have no parents. My son is autistic. My stakes are higher, sir." They say, "How much more?" And then he said, Can I talk to the government?" So they had a sidebar. Then he comes back and Diddy's lawyer says, "Just a few more minutes and we'll get you out here today, Capricorn Clark." She says, "Thank you, sir." So you did a lot of great work with Cassie from 2016 to 2017, right? I believe so. Cassie had addiction problems, right? Yes. You made a short movie with her, right? Yes, it was called Love a Loser. You wrote to him asking for forgiveness, Mr. Sean Diddy Combs. I wanted my life back, my dream, my competency. She wanted her spot back. When you met with me, you wanted to work with him, right? We discussed it. Nothing further, Your Honor. So Miss Steiner wanted to come in and redirect. She's like, "How much was Mr. Combs required to pay you?" And they was like, "Sidebar." So they go to the front office, like, "What are we doing here? What are we doing here? We right back at this. We went back over this already. This is the good over this. What are you doing?" She comes right up to with something that's going to be objected. So they come back to the table, and he says, "What happened with the job with Chris Lighty?" Capricorn Clark said he died the day before I was supposed to start. Then at Interscope, it wasn't about a job. They told me to leave Pluff alone. I object. They will substain. Then she said I was blacklisted. Objection. Substained. Why did you return to work for Mr. Combs? So people could see I wasn't disposable. At this level of business, he held up all the power. Why did you meet them? To get my life back. In the kidnapping, did Mr. Combs carry a gun? Yes. Jurors, I know we kept you longer than I said. Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow. Court's adjourned. So that's when they went through from yesterday, right? It went longer than expected. With one main witness the entire day was Capricorn Clark. Now, today, day 11, that's what get us to where we are today. Now, overnight, the court wanted to submit some documents because they felt pretty much that, hey, a lot of stuff has been going around, has been told that has been inaccurate. That's not what we want to do here. We want to make sure everybody get the facts. So they had his stylist, uh, Deontay Nash, talking about freak offs and all of this. And then they had the LAPD and Mia, his former assistant, come up to do what she does. So the trial looked like it's going to be cut before the 4th of July. They say we might bleed into a third week. So that's where they're headed with all of this direction. So today, everything was like a standstill. People were coming in, knocking stuff over. Like it was crazy in the courthouse. People outside the courthouse was basically debating about to fight each other. This whole day was crazy. It was 8 hours of nonsense. So as soon as everything kicked off, right, they had a docket on there saying about, okay, Don to Kid Cudi. Not only did they have a Q&A session about all this stuff, unsealing Prince, Dirty Money, this freezer meat from this guy here, people taking the fifth. The government is cutting some witnesses because it's all in the process of hearsay and it's only going to get thrown out and it's only going to make the jury forget other witnesses and it might hurt their case. So before the jury's brought in, the judge is talking to the defense and he's talking to the prosecution. He said, let's address this. All the government is saying that in this message shows that Mrs. Ventura state of mind. And Donaldson from Diddy's team said, that's the problem. We're not being able to recall Mrs. Ventura as a witness. Now, if you're not going to let her come back to the stand, The judge, and this is when I'm having a problem with this judge, he's become too passive. He's scared to do anything towards the government that would shut this case down because it's so monumental and it would look bad on his record. He's thinking about that instead of doing his job. And that's been a big problem. That's been the biggest problem of the day. That he's not doing his job. And then they said all Mr. Nash will quote is that, well, they saying all Mr. Nash will quote it. He's making me freak off on my birthdays. She didn't want to go. Combs Alexander Shapiro said a spouse might say he's making me go to the Rangers game. I'd rather not tonight. Exactly the same thing I was telling you. In a relationship, it's hard to prove coercion. When you can say, oh, well, what's that? He coerced me to go to the Rangers game? Exactly. That's the same thing I was telling y'all as an example. It is very hard to prove that in a court of law when people are in a relationship. You can't just say that. And the judge said you could have crossed Mrs. Ventura about this. He said, every day now, I'm getting these letters. These issues should have been raised pre-trial motions in limine. So he's getting mad at the defense for saying you could have crossed her when she was here about this thing. So that says, let's bring the jury in. So the judge is taking the government side on this. So they bring in LAPD officer Christopher Ignacio, right? And they said, what is a radio call? When someone calls 911 and it gets sent to the next available LAPD unit on duty. They say on December 22nd, 2011, what was your shift? 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. in a marked police vehicle. What do you remember? I got a call around 8 a.m., code 3, with lights and sirens to 8925 Hollywood Hills Road. What did you find there? An Escalade. I memorized the license plate. Why? I thought it could be involved in a crime. The way it left as soon as we got there. Why didn't you go after it? We didn't have a crime yet. The front door was unlocked. We went in. What did you see? High-end watches and purses, some wrapped, some unwrapped. 2 detectives showed up. We came in. I saw the same black Escalade now driving down the hill. Then what? Mr. McCuddy arrived in a Porsche. You ran the plate of the Escalade? Yes, it came back as Bad Boy Records. No further questions. So they got him in there. So the defense comes in. And they said, as Mr. Steele comes up, Brian Steele says, this was 13 years ago, right? Yes. You read your partner's report? Yes. The streets are dead ends, according to the map. It's a beautiful hood, right? Yeah. Cul-de-sac. Yeah, sure. You don't follow the car as it drives away, right? Right. Did you see a Porsche? I don't know. Do you know the definition of kidnapping? Objection. Abstain. Were you told the homeowner was in the house shortly before you and your partner got there? Objection. Overruled. Judge, want to hear this? The door was unlocked. Yes. There was no furniture appended, right? No. You called it a trespass, not a burglary, right? Because, objection, I think abstain. No report of theft. No. If you thought there was a gun in the Escalade, you could have put out a bolo, right? Objection. Overruled. You didn't, right? Right. Any mention of security cameras? I saw some. Kid Cudi wasn't hyperventilating, right? He was tense, I'd say. Did you search his Porsche? No. It was 8 a.m., not 6:30 a.m., right? Right. Nothing further. Oh my God, they just caught this guy red-handed. They got this guy red-handed. So right away, they got two things happened here that was very interesting that you should pay attention to. Two major things that happened here that was key. First off, with the Capricorn Clark situation, what transpired there also was the fact that you have conflicting stories. You have somebody who claimed they were kidnapped, but was desperate to work for Mr. Combs again, who wrote all these things and blamed Cassie and basically talked about Cassie's conditioning, how she got worsened and worsened on drugs, how she started off as a model and then turned into an abusive, fiery person with a personality, which goes further into the acts of how she was as a person with her personality. Now, so now they call the government's LA arson investigator, Lance Jimenez. He comes up to the stand. He says, they said the government's like, how many fires did you investigate? 100 a year. Everything between mansions to dumpster fires. LA is pretty crazy. They said, did you respond as an expert to the auto fire at 8925 Hollywood Hills Road? Yes. There was a cut in the roof of the Porsche. What about inside the Porsche? Burn patterns inside. Any items? A bottle on the front seat. A handkerchief burned. A lighter on the ground. What hypothesis did you draw? Molotov cocktail. How did you think it got in? Someone lit, cut the roof, and dropped it in. Let me show you some photos. This is the black Porsche. Was it burned? Yes. What kind of bottle was used? Old English 800 malt liquor bottle. Old English, OE. And the wick, a designer type scarf. Silky, in my opinion. This was targeted. Okay. The partial DNA profile, was it consistent with a female contributor? I was told that. Do you know what it means? No. Do you know if it's possible to touch an item without leaving DNA? Objection. Sustain. What happened to the print cards? They were destroyed in 2012. On whose orders? Someone in LAPD. Not you or anyone on your team, right? I'm going to object to all of this. Can we have a sidebar? The judge is like, okay. They go and have a sidebar. And the judge said, jurors, we trying to stitch this up. Why don't we just take a break? The reason why is because this guy is responding to things he don't know about. And it was like, we're getting off point. It's not about did this car get destroyed and all of this and evidence. Once he said the prints was done, it was a female contributor. Prince it was, and that's what he was told. So he's going off hearsay. So why is he on the stand? So they come back, right? So they brought Diddy back in. I think Diddy went to the back. And the judge said, Miss Salvik, what's the purpose of that? She said, they are questioning the investigation, so we're entitled to ask this. And it just said, when I heard the questions, I'm assuming there's going to be a line of cross examination about the fingerprint cards, like about the DNA, but that does not appear to be the case. So I'm thinking of telling the jurors to disregard. And then he said, this is outrageous. Diddy's lawyer's like, this is outrageous. We're considering what remedies to ask for. Let me speak with my colleague. They implied that someone in this courtroom was responsible for the destruction of the fingerprint cards. They intended to attack the investigation. And then, of course, the females is crying. They intended to attack the investigation. So they took a recess and then they come back because they had to figure this out, their argument. So the judge, my intent is to strike from the any testimony about the fingerprints cards and the destruction of them. That the only answers were what the witnesses knew about the destruction. I sustain the objection to it was abnormal. So Shapiro comes in. Diddy's lawyer said, we ain't going to ask for a mistrial at this time based on prosecutorial misconduct. Boom! Didn't I tell y'all? Didn't I tell y'all? Didn't I tell y'all? Didn't I tell y'all? Everybody, I just did this video 2 days ago saying Diddy should have a mistrial by prosecutorial misconduct, and they asked for it today. Today. Said we finna move for a mistrial at this time based on prosecutorial misconduct that has occurred. Some prospective jurors said Mr. Combs could buy his way out. This type of conspiracy is out there, and this was brought into it. They should have ended with the fingerprint. He said they should have ended with when the fingerprint cards were destroyed. But they asked, did he authorize it? There's no way to unring this bell. The other only proper remedy here is a mistrial. That's absolutely unwarranted. Those are the prosecution. That is absolutely unwarranted. If Diddy's lawyer into the investigation, Your Honor, jurors should not draw any interference from the destruction of the fingerprint cards. The application for mistrial is denied. The judge turns it down because he's a punk. He's scared to pull that trigger because this case is so massive with all the public appeal. He don't want it to be all on him. But this is a mistrial, 100% mistrial. So as you can see, I'm on point. When I said I've been talking to lawyers and they said this is a mistrial and this is the grounds for it, they told me this. So now that I'm sitting here saying it to you guys just 2, 3 days ago, I did the video. You can just go backtrack it. They got two. That's just one. See, when it's prosecutorial misconduct, that means they've created such a media frenzy with like TMZ, the news. This man can't get a possible fair trial. And with all of this misinformation and disinformation going on, putting people on the stand to say things, that's prosecutorial evidence. Then there's another one. Um, and that is what is it? Prejudicial misconduct. Prejudicial misconduct. And what that has to do is like all of the stuff that was done with evidence or the hearsay, a lot of garbage you don't need in a trial, and they have no grounds to prove any of these acts. It's like, okay, you can't prove any of this. This is a mistrial. Can't prove any of this crap. So the judge said, I sustain the objections when they're raised. The jury has already been told that the questions are not evidence. Your Honor, you should tell the jurors that the questions were improper. They weren't improper. You could say disregard both. And they said, will the court tell the jurors that the answers are not to be considered? And the judge said, I will tell them that the questions and answers of the fingerprints are irrelevant to this case and should not be considered. They said, thank you, Your Honor. So the jury comes back in. All that went down before the jury got back in. It got hot because it's crazy. The government is messing up. I told you they've been fumbling this whole trial. Forget this teaser tales crap. Stop listening to her. She doesn't have any information. She thinks she does. She'll hear it all, but ignore it and try to just make Diddy look bad. That's her whole thing, is make Diddy look bad. It's better for viewers. It's crazy. So the juror comes in and the question is asked about the fingerprints are irrelevant to the case and should not be considered. Please proceed. They said, "Did you interview the owner of the Porsche, Kid Cudi?" And they said, "Did you reach out to others?" And he was like, "Yeah, I talked to Kid Cudi." And he said, "I reached out to an assistant. Her name was Capricorn." And then they said, "I'm going to object to that." And they was like, "Please rephrase your question." They said, "Who did you reach out to?" Capricorn and Cassie Ventura. Did Capricorn respond or assist? No. How did you reach out to Cassie? Wasn't able by phone. Tried through a family member. Did you reach her? Never. Were charges brought? No. But I never closed the case. Isn't that correct? Yes. Do you remember when the results came back? Maybe 6 months. The test on the bottle, it was important, right? Yes. What does it mean, partial DNA female? I have no idea. I was told if we had a suspect, we could test against it. Any other DNA on the bottle? Objection. They was like rephrase. Okay. DX852, just for the witness. Glove, right? Yes. Did you find another glove? No. Did you test the glove for DNA? No. I understood it belonged to the owner. It was a driving glove. Hmm. Your premise was that the Molotov cocktail was dropped. Did you think the person who dropped it would have worn a glove? Perhaps. It would have been hot. Only wick. He said, the damage is on both sides of the bottle, right? Looks like it. Did Kelly have more than one Porsche? I think he had a second one in the garage. Why isn't it in your report? It was not involved. You were unable to reach Capricorn Clark or Cassie, correct? Yes. When did you reach out? In the first few weeks. Are you sure? Tell us everything about these calls. I believe Capricorn's brother answered and we disagreed. And once Kid Cudi told you it was his glove, you didn't investigate the glove anymore, correct? I did not. Nothing further. Okay, when did you speak with Kid Cudi? Same day. Nothing further. So they bring in the next witness. So they bring in Deontay Nash. And Deontay Nash coming in, they say, you under subpoena, right? He goes, yes. Do you want to be here? Absolutely not. Where did you work? Celebrity Stylist. And in 2008, yes, for Puff and Cassie. And they said, well, how did you get hired for work for them? Through Craigslist for Bad Boy Entertainment. It's like, this photo is fair and accurate portrayal of how you looked at the time, right? Not even close. It's a glamour photo, right? Yes, I look amazing. They said, how often would you witness? Hold on. They said, how often would you witness? Mr. Combs and Mrs. Ventura interact at least once a week. He's like, well, how did Mr. Combs call Mrs. Ventura? A nasty bee, hoe, CC, baby girl, slut. He would call it outright though, hoe, slut, any way he could. How did she react? Sad. Did Mr. Cole make threats? Yes. Then he would beat her ass. He would send her sex tapes out. How often would he say he beat her ass? Quite a few times. He drove her crazy. She would be so emotional, she might stay in the house for days. How often did Mr. Combs say you could go out without his permission? Let me see. Twice. Then the first time we went to a gay club with Kyle and Adrian. Then we went to LA apartment. Puff called and told her she better bring his ass to the house. She panicked. They said, "What did you understand about Mr. Combs? What he was saying?" Xavier Donaldson. They was like, "Objection, overruled." And he's like, "She packed her stuff and she went to her house." Well, did you attend any Vanity Fair parties? Yes, the Oscars, 2014 with Cassie, Puff. It was like, how did she look? She was the bomb. Her hair was. It was objection. It was overruled. Her hair was long. Puff picked me up and he threatened me too. I pinned her hair up and stuff. Was she recording music? Often. What was your role? I helped pick some songs. I probably should have been called an executive or something. Objection. Sustain. Her mixtape. Was it ever sold? No, it was put out for free. But it did very well on the top downloads and stuff. So they said, how much music was released? Well, I'm being generous. I would say about 10%. 10%? Yes, about 10%. This would be a good place to take a break, don't you think? Oh, yeah, I'm thirsty. So the juries went and took a break. They was like, Miss Kami, what would you say about the 2013s? It's not the tapes, right? No. So they took a break. So before the jury came back to witness, right? Oh, yes, definitely hit the like button. I know y'all just got here. Some of y'all appreciate y'all being here, but definitely hit the like button up so they can know you're not a bot and you can come right in and do what it is that you do. Now, they wanted to show Mr. Nash a photo from the afternoon. The witness Mia without the screen in the gallery showing the photo. And they brought back in Mr. Nash, put him on the stage. They all came back and they said, how many times in person have you witnessed Mr. Combs be violent? Ooh, quite a few. They said, this is a sealed exhibit. Without saying her name, do you recognize this person? We'll call her Mia. Yes. They said, what were you when Mia was helping Cassie? What was she helping her pack for? Oh, the OVO Fest from Canada. Who came to the door? Puff. He said, bitch, didn't I tell you to answer your phone? Then he dragged her by her hair and he hit her. How hard was he hitting her? Objection. Overruled. Very hard. We ran to the bedroom, but Puff pushed it open. He continued to attack Cassie with his fists. What did you do to try to help Cassie? I jumped on Puff back. He threw me off. Me too. They said, Cassie, they had Mr. Nash over there. He's like, Cassie, he hit the bed frame. She was bleeding, but Puffy continued hitting her. Where was Mia? Getting towels? What did Mr. Combs say to you, me and Cassie? He said, look what y'all made me do. He said, go get the plastic surgeon. With who? D-Rock. He was Puff security. After that, did you see her the next day FaceTiming or something like that? She had a gash over her eyebrow. Were you once cooking with Cassie when Mr. Combs got violent? Yes, Puff came in. What did Mr. Combs say? He said, y'all better get out my house. He was grabbing her by the hair and he pushed her out the door, then began to do the same thing to me. But I don't have hair. He popped me. He told me to go downstairs and wait. They came down and Puff was berating us. As he drove off, we got a call. Objection. Judge says, new question. He said, call from who? Puff. He told us to stop, and he came back to the window and he said he gonna put the sex tapes on the internet. And Puff said he gonna send her sex tape to her parents, her jobs, and get them fired. And then her brother was a B, and that the only person that could protect her was him. What did you tell her? That Puff is on the sex tapes too, and he's not gonna do that. He was taping her with other men's. What did she say about wanting or not wanting to have sex with other men? Objection, overruled, that she didn't want to. I drove her to Sunset Boulevard to get a taxi. Why? Uber wasn't really her thing. It wasn't really a thing yet. It was like Puffy came to the house looking for her. He looked into the oven and he said, I'm not sure why. Puff took my phone and Cassie called and hotel Puff stayed. Let go there. Bad boy staff stayed there. What did Mr. Combs say? He said, go get her. So I went to Cassie hotel room with D-Rock and Tony. She jumped up. She was frightened. She said she would jump off the balcony. How high was it? Oh, it wasn't the first floor. Downstairs, I saw 4 or 5 Puffs security waiting. They was like, Puff told me you played me. And she's like, Puff said you played me. I drove off, but Puff security followed me. I turned on my lights and drove real fast. I went to Universal Shelter. They was like, did you go on the next day? Yeah. I found my backpack. It was stolen. I had like $1,000 in it. Why did you keep $1,000 in cash? So when Puff get mad, I could check into a hotel without giving my name. What happened in 2015? I saw Puff slap Cassie in the face. He said, get this B out of here. What did you do? What did you do? Got her out of there. The perfect match premiere. What did you see? Cassie had a black eye. When was Mr. Cone violent with you at the music awards? Okay, let's stop right there. Let's stop at the perfect match premiere. Did you see my video? Did I show you the perfect match premiere? Did I show you the day after, the day before, and showed you her eyes? She had no black eyes. This is very important. They talking about the premiere. Just remember, Sino didn't showed you already. I'm ahead of the trial. He's like, she had a black eye. When was Mr. Combs violent with you at the music awards? Yes, I was outside smoking a cigarette. Puff came up and threw me on the car, and he started. Puff said, y'all keep going out. Did you report anything to the police? No, I was afraid of retaliation from Puff. Did you get anyone on the staff? Ooh, KK, Kristen Corn. What did she say? That she would talk to him. Did anything change? No. How often did you help Cassie hide? Often. What did Mr. Combs do? He would blow our phones up. KK would too. She would say Puff was calm. Cassie would go back. They said, did Cassie tell you to go to the hotel with Mr. Combs? Yes, weekly. She would pack up sex toys. They said, did she say she wanted to go? Objection, overruled. She said she didn't want to go. Her 29th birthday, tell me. They said, uh, Puff asked me to go down there to surprise her on her birthday. They said, what did you say? Good. I wasn't about to go tell him not to surprise her. Did she use the word freak off with you? Nah, not like freak off, more like freak off or something like that. Like a verb? Yes. Where did you go to after the Lion Dragon? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I showed you the actual video of it. It's a video. So they got video proof. So they said, where did you go to the Blind Dragon? They was like 875 corn stock, like 17 puff said. Y'all gonna get some D tonight. What did Miss Ventura say? That she didn't want to do it, but he made her. They left the house and she was super high. New Year's Eve 2017. Where did you go? Vegas with Kathy and the staff and all on the same floor of the hotel. Puff room was at the end of the hall. What did Mr. Combs tell you? That Kathy had been asleep for 24 hours and I had to wake her up. So I had to wake her up. Did she wake up? She woke me up. What did Mr. Combs say? That he spent all his money. So she had to then there, uh, do something with a low budget producer. How many of your meetings with prosecutors did you have early on? Did you end early? Probably all of them. Did you stay in touch with Mr. Combs? Yes. What was your tone? Very loving. Why? I don't hate the man. It's not in me. No further questions. So now they go back, right? So before they come in, the government says this witness has a flight back to LA tonight. We'll rebook if we have to, but if we could stay a little later to finish it with him, I know he'll appreciate it. I think we can. I told the jurors that we might stay to 4. So the jury comes back in, right? So they said Diddy's lawyer Donaldson is taking over. So he says, "How are you?" Blessed. When when you met with the government, did you have an attorney present? Yes. The subpoena didn't mention you had to go to their office, right? Right. You hired a civil lawyer, Mr. Dunn, to represent you, considering litigations against Mr. Combs, right? No. Does this document show that? It's their assumption, but no. I had counsel to protect me. I don't do federal court. So they said on March 10th, 2025, did you not tell Ms. Comey that you are considering a civil complaint against Mr. Combs? No. DX 1800, what is this? Kathy in the video for the mixtape in 1801, Cassie and Usher. This is 2016 Bad Boy Reunion Show. They said, did you pick out that dress? I don't remember. They said, you didn't start as a celebrity stylist. It was that Mr. Combs introduced you to Cassie, right? I met her, Mrs. Fine. So they said, Mr. Combs who made you a celebrity stylist, correct? Sure, go ahead if you want to say that. They said, I'm going ahead. As a celebrity stylist, you picked clothes, like for Mrs. Fine's wedding, right? Yes. Did you know Groovy Lou? Yes. As head of Bad Boy, it was Mr. Combs' interest that his artist Cassie looked good, right? I suppose. And Bad Boy paid for Cassie's studio time, right? Yes. And they said, well, Mrs. Ventura can't go to the studio under Mr. Combs pays, unless Mr. Combs pays, right? So it's either yes. What is Young and Restless? A streetwear clothing brand. Cassie owned part of it. They said Mr. Combs had nothing to do with that, right? He had to approve everything. And they said, wasn't Brianna Bogolian involved? And they said, a stylist. They said, Hmm. Who else was you styling in 2016? Maeve, Lil Kim. And they said major artist. Tape. You were executive producer, but got no credit. Meek Mill was on the mixtape, right? Yes. Pusha T, yes. They was like, can we? And then he's like, can I take a break? Judge is like, yes. So the witness took a break. He came out and they was like, how much more? They said, no way. I'll be finished by 4. So they came out and they said, do you want to go on? And they said, yeah. They kept it going. They said, well, before we go to 4, they said, well, and then they said, we'll rebook. Because the government want to go over some things now. So they said, next code. They was, thank you. What size? Not your size. So they said, right. And he said, right answer. Mr. Combs was the final decision making, right? No, he was the final decision in the making of the fashion, right? They was like, no, some of them look terrible. They said, okay, you are friends with Miss Fine, right? Yes. Well, the last time you spoke with Banana, yesterday, not about testimony, right? She saw it on the news. When you speak with Cassie, yesterday, I congratulated her on having the baby. You saw her take drugs, cocaine, ecstasy, and MDMA, mushrooms, and acid. I'm not like privy to that. Not to get in your business, but you have used cocaine, right? Yes. You smoke pot before meeting prosecutors? Yes. And Maureen cut it short. You told her that you were high, right? That I was smoking. Making a video costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. Not necessarily. Who was Mia, Puff's assistant? You and Mia jumped on Mr. Combs to protect Cassie from him, right? And to protect him from doing something worse. And D Rock jumped in to protect you and not protect Mr. Combs, right? Yes. Judge is like, we're at 4. Who are the witnesses after Mia? And he said, we think she will go long, but after all, after her, we got Unique, uh, Urinque, Santos, and they was like, after today, we will give you 5, your exhibits by 5. We couldn't get back to the office by then. So they go back in there and they said, look, we think, Your Honor, could you let us meet with Mr. Combs in the courthouse under your Article 3 powers? We'd like to sift everything tonight until 10 o'clock. So they wanted to go in there and go over this stuff with the lawyers because a lot of this is kind of crazy. And they want to be able to talk to their client. So she says, we are ahead of schedule. We might cut some witnesses because of the way they're going. They say they think they will rest in less than 6 weeks. We'd like to be on the second week of June. Might bleed this into the third week of June. I'll look at a request to charge. So they adjourn the court and they're going to go ahead and kick this off the next day because it's went on too long. Now, while everyone thinks that this stylist is done a great job, what the defense did was set up breadcrumbs and traps exactly what the prosecution was doing, what exactly their stance was, the point, and why it failed miserably. Okay, here we go. All right. Now, why it failed miserably is because the people involved in it wasn't all the way focused. They missed key points. No one's questioning Diddy putting a foot down, but Cassie had her own clothing line. that had nothing to do with Diddy. To show she can make her own decisions. Diddy has to approve it because he's the manager. He controls her career. So that's always going to be a case. But nothing else. So if you look at everything in particular, you're going to look at a sensationalized case. And when you're looking at a sensationalized case, this person is admitted that this person has done drugs with Cassie before. Cocaine without Cassie. Smoked weed when they was coming in to give a statement. So the credibility of this witness is tainted and could say anything. This person could say anything on the stand. This person's a drug addict. Functioning drug addict on the stand. Now, how much is what that person is going to say you can actually use as credible? Not a lot. But I am very glad for the fact of a couple of good things. They were able to prove, without a shadow of a doubt, that this person was compromised. Absolutely compromised. Mm-hmm. Now, all of these people who were so excited to get down and be with the Diddy party and the Diddy train, this person with all this beating is going down ain't doing nothing, ain't saying nothing, just going along with the flow. But then signed some paperwork saying that they did not try to go for a civil lawsuit. So it's like, well, there's a confusion here. He said that was their assumption, that they was going for it. Now, the reason I was talking in that voice is because that's how that person was sounding in court. That person was a little bit on the sausage. Alphabet crew. Now, right away, they come in with a narrative that didn't make a lot of sense. And that narrative was clear. We have got to come in here and cause some disruption. Which they did. They caused a lot of disruption. But what they did was put a lot of compromising witnesses on the stand that could have gotten them a mistrial. This is already a mistrial. From Don Richards' testimony to Kid Cudi's testimony, which all of it is basically hearsay. You can't prove, talking about it's an open investigation. Then investigate it then. Go investigate it. What are you going to come up with? You can't pin this on Diddy because she said this and then said that. You had DNA that linked to a female contributor. You didn't test the glove because Kid Cudi said it was his glove at the scene of a crime. You didn't even think to test it. You just took his word for it. What kind of investigating is that? So they proved that they didn't really spotty care, and Cudi didn't even follow up on it. He never even followed up on the police report about the damage. If somebody damaged your car, would you not follow up with the investigation? Like, what's up with that print? Did you get the print? Like, who did it? Would you not follow up on that? It's common sense, right? You would follow up with that. You would stay on top of the game. You would follow up on every lead, every little thing that came about. You would be on top of. You would not let anything go. You gonna be on top of that till you know what's what. You ain't gonna be like, nah, forget about it. I got another Porsche in the garage. Hmm? Or did Cassie do it? Mm. Did Cassie cut that top? Did she drop that bottle in there? And say, see, I told you, he said he was gonna do it and he did it. Look at what he did, he's crazy. Just so she can go right and running back to Diddy. And when you came and saw her at the restaurant with Diddy, and she said, well, love just happens. You know, when you're in love, you're just in love. And you realized you got played. You just didn't realize how you were played. And who was doing the playing was actually Cassie. She likes to create drama, allegedly. Creating drama and following narratives. But we don't know if it's Cassie, but we do know it's a female. They do have female DNA. And they know it's a female. So that would disqualify Mr. Combs. Now, the police report of the break-in, they call it a break-in, nothing was stolen. If you don't take anything, it becomes a criminal trespass, which is like a ticket or a warning, like someone trespassing on your property. They didn't take anything, they didn't damage anything. So it's been written up in the police report as a trespass, which is a ticket and a fine. Okay? Plus, there's no proof of him ever being there. So all of it was basically thrown out. But the Porsche stuff, he kept it open as an active investigation. Why, you going to investigate the crime now that's not a crime? How? What's your evidence? Hearsay? You got female DNA on the bottle. What are we talking about? And you want to try to prosecute a male for the crime. Good luck with that. Diddy and 6. And it's going to get even more interesting as you're listening to this, because what was said by Capricorn Clark, who's also an admitted person who loves Puff, dedicated to Puff, thought he was the greatest person in the world, but was around all of this same abuse. And once again, we have a very similar breakdown to the whole scenario. This whole scenario ends up being the same story. And the same story is this. You don't want to be on the bad side of Sean Diddy Combs. That's what they want to make it look like. Diddy is not a good man. But They keep talking about the black eye. And we talked about that. We saw it ourselves. They put makeup on it. And that's why you can't tell. So if somebody had a black eye, there would be some swelling. There would be some, you know, you'll be able to tell. She did press that week. Whole week of press. Didn't see any marks. Definitely not on her face. Absolutely. Yes, we will definitely bring that to the forefront. You see, we just did this. It doesn't hurt us to do this again. They want us to believe which eye was black, which one has the makeup. Look, where's the black eye? Where's the black eye? I don't see it. Hmm? She's wearing regular makeup, but even if she had a black eye, her eyes would be swollen. Where's the swollen eyes? Where the black jet? I mean, where the black eyes at? She's blinking her eyes perfectly. Where's the black eyes? Where? All the lies they keep telling you on that stand. Because Diddy never hit her in the face in that tape. Y'all seen that tape on CNN and everywhere. He never did it. So, as I told y'all before, she was on TV, on the news, the very next day. This is right after the incident, the hotel. This was that Thursday. Boom, look at her face. Where the black eye? Where the black eye? Hmm? Where the black eye? Y'all seen it for yourself. So where's the black eye? The blanket of lies, they tell you. The blanket of lies. So, I mean, there's mountains of footage. Mountain of footage. The other day, less than 24 hours later. So there was no blackout. Absolutely. Thank you for understanding. I try. But that's why I always say being safe is better than being sorry. Oh, tomorrow they get to the witnesses they couldn't get to today. They went to 3 witnesses. 2 shouldn't have even been on the stand. The first police officer, I don't even know why he was there. So they're going through these rather quickly because they really are doing nothing. It's a lot of it is hearsay, and a lot of it should have been stricken from the evidence and all this stuff. And they're going into the realms of conspiracy theory. And all of this has been grounds for a mistrial. All of it has been grounds for a mistrial. They have not been playing fairly in this trial from the beginning, and it's sad. No. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Tory Lanez fight thing, or the prison thing. Yeah, I saw it. No, it was a lot of different takes on what was going on. I'm gonna say hi to my nephew, so I'm gonna let y'all go. All right, I'll holler later.
Hi. Hey, baby.